Hello and welcome. I am your host, and this is our first 35 Fox Talks Q&A session. We've been involved in a number of discussions where people have asked, what are COFMs? How are they calculated? And how do you conduct battle damage assessments? Now, these are weighty subjects that will get their own episodes down the line, but we think it's better to get some information out now rather than all the information out many months from now. Question 1. What are COFMs? COFM stands for Correlation of Forces and Means, or in plain English, force ratios. It is a measurement of friendly strength versus enemy strength. Why does this matter? Because World War I and World War II battle analysis discovered certain force ratios increase the chances of success for operations. These ratios can be found in ATP 2-01.3, IPB, or if you're a grumpy old man like me, the long out of circulation FM34 TAC 130. For example, here we see that to have a good chance of success attacking a prepared defensive position, we need to have 3 friendly things to the enemy's 1. Why, you ask? Well, in World War I, it took 3 infantrymen to overrun an enemy infantryman, 1 to get shot and die running across no man's land, 1 to get wounded capturing the enemy's trench with his comrade, and the 1 remaining healthy infantryman to either defend what they just seized or continue the attack. Do these ratios guarantee success? No, not at all, but they do help planners and commanders evaluate the likelihood of success. How are these ratios calculated? Answer is, well, everything up through World War I was easy. You just had to count the number of infantry, cavalry, archers, artillery, etc. on both sides. You did basic math to reduce those numbers to their smallest fraction, and boom, there's your force ratio. Since all armies fielded basically the same types of weapons like muskets, rifles, spears, swords, cannons, etc., not a lot of adjustments needed to be made to account for technological advantages. What was not accounted for in force ratios of these olden days was morale, skill and training, or cohesion. These are the human factors in every battle that are impossible to give mathematical quantifiers to. History of warfare is full of examples when a smaller army defeated a numerically superior army by training harder and having greater mental determination, like the Swedish army of the Great Northern War, Hannibal and his Italian campaign against the Romans, Imperial Germany against Imperial Russia in World War I, etc., and etc. And heck, coupled with the effective use of terrain like Leonidas at the hot gates of Thermopylae against the Persians, a competent small force can beat these force ratio odds over and over again. Clausewitz called this the genius of command. The way force ratios get calculated after World War II profoundly shifts. World War II introduced the concept of technological overmatch. For example, it is commonly stated it took 5 Sherman tanks to defeat 1 Tiger tank. Therefore, a company of 18 Shermans against a Tiger platoon of 4 tanks shifts from a nominal force ratio of 4.5 to 1 to an actual force ratio of 0.9 to 1. World War II also introduced close air support, ballistic missiles, prolific theater-wide intelligence collection, and nuclear weapons, all of which must be added to the complex mathematical formula of force ratios. How many tanks can an AH-64 defeat? How many SA-18s does it take to defeat an AH-64? How does that impact the morale of soldiers? How does the reduction of enemy tanks change the force ratios for our tanks if the enemy still has a bunch of anti-tank guided missile systems? These are all the factors that made force ratios more difficult to conduct through the 2000s. Today, with all-domain operations, force ratios seem to have gotten so unquantifiable it feels like it's not worth doing. What is the mathematical weight of an enemy jamming tactical radio communications? What is the mathematical number we can assign to friendly cyber operations defeating the enemy's computer-based mission command systems? How are friendly operations overmatched when the enemy gains information dominance and turns populations and politicians against an operation? What is the plug for hypersonics? How do we, the ground force, calculate a space war into our COFMs? At this point, it starts to feel like COFMs are just made-up numbers. Well, before we just hang it all up and call it quits, The Russian invasion of the Ukraine and the Nagorno-Karabakh War both show us that wars are still fairly rudimentary. Planes, yes including drones, versus air defense, tanks versus anti-tank weapons, artillery duels, infantry exploitation, etc. So if nothing else, COFMs are a good tool to help you and the command team have a foundational force ratio baseline from which to build everything else off of. If you are looking for a tool to help you do this, the Combined Arms Center of Excellence has this Excel sheet that we will post on MillSuite. It is not the end-all be-all since there are a lot of equipment and formation types missing, but it will help you to understand how COFMs start to be calculated. Remember, COFMs are a tool, not a destination, and by no means predict how operations will unfold. Question 2. How do we conduct BDA? Oh man, this topic gets deep quick, so we're going to try to reel it in. 1. Start with a baseline order of battle. 2. Understand according to JP2 TAC 01.1 and some CJCSI documents, there are 3 types of BDA, each with its own type of report. Phase 1. Physical Damage Assessment. A physical damage assessment is an estimate of the quantitative extent of physical damage through munitions blast, fragmentation, and/or fire damage effects to a target element based on observed or interpreted damages. This post-attack target analysis should be a coordinated effort among combat units, component commands, the subordinate joint force, the combatant command, national agencies, supporting commands, the NMJIC, and the primary theater BDA cell. Some representative sources for data necessary to make a physical damage assessment include the Air Tasking Order or Victor India TAC 3 Intelligence Role and Combat Assessment Master Air Attack Plan, MISREPs, aircraft cockpit video, weapon system video, visual verbal reports from ground spotters or combat troops, controllers and observers, artillery target surveillance reports, SIGINT, HUMINT, IMINT, MAZINT, and open source intelligence. Yeesh. All right, here we go. Basically, did we hit what we aimed at, and did it have any immediate effect, like bomb hit tank, tank lit on fire, or bomb hit side of tank, and tank stopped moving? Phase 2. Functional Damage Assessment. The functional damage assessment is an estimate of the effect of military force to degrade or destroy functional/operational capability of a target to perform its intended mission. Functional assessments are inferred from the assessed physical damage and all-source intelligence information. This assessment must include an estimation of the time required for recuperation or replacement of the target's function. BDA analysis needs to compare the original objective for the attack with the current status of the target to determine if the objective was met. Basically, did we degrade a function and how long will it take to fix? Like the bomb that hit the tank and destroyed it reduced the enemy's armor company from 10 to 9 tanks, or the bomb that hit the side of the tank was only a mobility kill and the enemy is repairing the tank. The armor company currently at 9 of 10 tanks will be at 10 of 10 tanks in the next 8 hours. Phase 3. Target System Assessment. Target System Assessment is a broad assessment of the overall impact and effectiveness of military force applied against an adversary target system relative to the operational objectives established. These assessments may be conducted at the combatant command or national level by fusing all Phase 1 and Phase 2 BDA reporting on targets within a target system. Okay, imagine this being like the tank that was destroyed, in fact, was the armor company commander who was leading the battalion's assault. The armor force has ceased attacks, forcing the battalion operations to culminate, preventing offensive operations in sector for the next week. Ideally, these get reflected in your ORBAT charts, BUBs, and INSUMs, so targets can be adjusted, COFMs recalculated, and plans made anew. If you don't have BDA reports from your ISR, you flex over to the fires team and go through their munitions charts to do battle damage estimates. These charts usually say things like M795, 155mm high explosive round, 5 to suppress infantry, 15 to destroy infantry, 10 to damage armored vehicles, 20 to destroy armored vehicles, etc. So you determine the munitions type and the number employed against the appropriate target, and estimate what the effect likely was. Again, this video was a quick Q&A hitting the most basic concepts of COFMs and BDA. We will make comprehensive videos in the future on these topics, but for now, we encourage you to read through the material in the description section of this video and find the smart people in your formations to mentor you through this. Until next time, take care and God bless.